A very good morning. Thanks for clicking on to the Monday edition of Vogan's US Outlook. Hope you've had and continue to enjoy the long Easter weekend. Certainly, it was one of the warmest Easters on record for the East Coast yesterday, seeing temperatures quite widely into the mid to even upper 80s. It was more like July 4th compared to Easter. For the eastern seaboard, but certainly the temperatures will get pegged back as the next frontal system sounds like a broken record, doesn't it? Pushes through severe weather across the Ohio Valley, and eventually that warmth will get forced out in over the Atlantic. But remember, a couple of days ago, I showed you the GFS indicating a substantial cold shock coming down during the second half of the month. Well, it looks as if the CFSV2 weeklies is at least hinting at that overall scenario as we go forward. So this is the CFSV2 2-meter temperature anomalies upcoming 7 days, very warm, focused over the Ohio Valley, if you notice. Then as we go into the following 7 days, you notice here that we've got a bit of a cool pool starting to show up here over the midsection of the country, warming up across the southwest. Still got cooler than normal conditions with systems coming in across the Pacific Northwest. It looks as if we are going to continue to see the bombardment of Pacific low pressure into the western half of the country. But of course, in between those systems, temperatures do respond quite nicely at this time of the year in places such as the desert southwest, Southern California, so on and so forth. Now, this is when we start to get interesting. This is a bit of a kind of lag compared to what the GFS it was indicating 2 or 3 days ago. But certainly the model in CFSV2 weeklies is indicating that although we've got warmth in the eastern half of the country, notice the cool starting to show up over the Pacific Northwest, the Northern Rockies, and the Northern and Central Plain states. It looks as if the model is trying to show a bit of a pattern change coming up with a cooler than normal regime as we go in through the first half of May. Again, this far out, the modelling, CFSV2 in particular, is quite poor with regards to accuracy when you look beyond really about 10 days. But the overall emphasis is interesting, that it's indicating that we are going to enter a cooler period. After seeing plenty of warmth during April, especially across the eastern half of the country, it does indicate that we are going to see somewhat of a pattern flip. Now, also bear in mind, by the time we get into May, you would expect high pressure to become more established and more dominant over the western half of the country. The rainy season ends, the dry season begins, and certainly this would indicate that we're going to have warmer, drier conditions across California and the west, finally ending a record wet year for Northern California. And of course, the drought's now over. Hope you had the chance to have a look at the video, or sorry, the written post from last night. Quite an interesting article, I think, regarding the overall pattern that we've seen this winter thus far, or this rainy season thus far. And then as we go into the period to day 36 through 42, to be quite honest with you, it's a waste of time looking at that because it's just simply too far out. So, precipitation wise, finally, week one, it looks as if it's going to maintain a wet pattern. Now, it's also going to be wet across the central portion of the country, the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, into the mid Mississippi Valley. Why is that the case? Well, we've got systems riding in where, of course, tap warm, humid, summer like air from the Gulf. That gets lifted north, tends to like to rain a lot in this area. Then, as we go into the following 7 day period, this is when things start to get interesting because we start to have a little bit more of a high pressure, cool high pressure centered over the mid Mississippi Valley, wet on the east coast. But notice that we're starting to see things drown out, according to the model, over northern California. Still wet in the Pacific Northwest. Then the emphasis starts to shift towards wetter east, drier west as we go forward. That's it for today. Thanks for watching and hope you can check back for more on Europe and other weather stories happening around the world. Have a great day, Easter Monday. Bye for now.